Hey, it's Robert here. So this is the second update of my Daemon Legion army, and today we're looking at my newly finished Hellhounds. And like I said in the intro to this series, I'm assuming you're here for 9th Age, but I will keep including the name of the Warhammer 8 counterpart, unless of course it's a model that didn't exist. And for those who doesn't know, Hellhounds are kind of based on Fleshhounds, which I will talk more about later. But firstly for actual models. So these ones are from Legion in War Machine Hordes, which a big part of my army will be from as well, as I explained in the first video. Now I ended up using a mix between Shredders and Stingers, though initially I thought about doing Stingers only, because they fit slightly better, looking more menacing with the tail and puke. But in the end I just thought it looked cooler with the variation, and also they have a similar build otherwise, so I decided that they fit well enough and that the variation was more important. And now for some thoughts on the unit ruleswise. So I recently tried them out in 2 test matches. Now I still have to use a boring amount of proxy models, but luckily the opponent I know the best has been very active lately and he doesn't mind as long as there's some progress between the matches. And so far I must say that I see the potential of Hellhounds and will probably include a unit in most of my lists. Because in my opinion, there's a few different ways they could be useful. Now, obviously you should take my thoughts with a grain of salt, since I'm a new demon player. But either way, here's my take so far. So first of all, they seem good at chasing war machines, smaller shooting units and things like that. Simply putting pressure on squishier stuff. And for the amount of models, I'm probably gonna go with around 8 to 10. Because less than 8 just seems too easy to get down with shooting and magic. I mean, sure, they have resilience 4 and 5 up ages, but they're just 1 win each and no armor. So if they arrive with a couple models only, it may often limit their usage to war machines and chaff, and I just prefer more options. And then for the other way, going 10 to 15 models would just start to be expensive, and I don't see it as a unit that's ever gonna be alive in the later rounds. And besides that, I also want to use a manifestation, which also costs. And speaking of that, I will probably go with Vanguard most of the time. Because sure, they are pretty fast anyway, but I like to be able to come close enough to shooting units turn 1, so they don't get stand and shoot when I charge next turn. And then also, it might be good for getting around flanks easier. Plus of course, being able to shift them a bit if my opponent suddenly drops everything, so I know I will get turn 2. And another thought is based on something that happened in one of the games. So they started out the match being a threat to my opponent's archers on War Machine, which meant that my opponent did both magic and shooting to get them down, which in turn drew fire from my more important units. And then after that, I only had 2 left, where I shifted the usage to doing a long march to be chaff instead. And I have a feeling that this is gonna be a recurring theme, which point-wise feels okay. So basically I like the versatility. I mean, both from the start of the match, and then the fact that they're still dangerous on the charge with 2 to 4 models against soft targets. Especially if you can sneak in a cheap buff. And I think, being demons with lots of dice, especially with 5 to 7 spells like I will have, there's just probably often gonna be other spells the opponents see as more important. Then as a final end note, being a new demon player, I must admit it took me a while to adapt mentally and not mix them up with Fleshhounds in Warhammer, which I think were quite different. So, I hope you enjoyed the video. Now, feel free to leave feedback and thoughts of your own, and I hope to see you in the next one. Peace out!